That rand trading 669, 670 this morning, so strength suddenly filtering back through to this currency after we saw that blip midweek.
Yes, good morning, Steve. And well, it's predominantly been once again a function of that euro-dollar move. We saw obviously the euro strengthening yesterday on the back of a number of factors. First and foremost, we had more disappointing figures out of the States on the labour front as well as on the manufacturing side. We also had Chancellor Merkel coming out and just affirming to the euro currency. And then, of course, we had Moody's coming forward and saying that possibly America's AAA rating could come under review unless they do something about, or there's some consensus about how they're going to tackle their debt levels. So it's all going against the dollar at the moment, and the rand has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of this weak dollar environment.
The news coming out of the European Union, although might be slightly better, is still not very good at all. So do you think we could continue to see this volatility in the euro-dollar movement?
I think so, Steve, and I think we've had this volatility for some time now, and people are really deciding between the two ugly ducklings. We've got the Europe with all the sovereign debt, and then we've got the US economy also with a lot of debt, weak economy, etc., etc. So it's really, as I say, the battle of the two ugly ducklings here, and that's why I think emerging markets are gaining with the investor community, because we don't have the debt levels, we don't have the concerns in a lot of these emerging markets that we do have in the developed markets.
Well, while we've had the rand strengthening nicely against the dollar, how's it been faring against some of the other currencies, particularly of our main trading partners?
Well, that's been quite interesting, Stephen. We've actually seen the rand strengthening across the board. So it's actually been outperforming most of its emerging market and commodity-based currency peers. So it suggests that the rand is one of those emerging market currencies that investors tend to favour when looking for yield, etc. We've obviously got also very deep markets, liquid markets. So the rand is often at the front of risk appetite when it comes through, and we've seen that once again. Of course, we also had the go-ahead with the Massmart Walmart deal, and I think that's also creating a lot of positive sentiment towards the country in terms of South Africa's FDI prospects going forward. And I think we could very well see more such deals coming through, given that the authorities have definitely quite unequivocally that South Africa is open for business. Sorry, Stephen.
No, sorry, Michael. Well, with the rand at these levels, do you think we could see the SARB becoming a little bit more active in the market?
I would think they would be a little bit more because of the trade-weighted rand appreciation. But again, it's going to be very difficult for the authorities to go up against this wall of money if it starts coming back into emerging markets. The dollar is weak, but if investors are scurrying for emerging markets as a kind of a safe haven these days, then I'm afraid, even though the Reserve Bank will probably look to accumulate reserves, I don't know if it's going to actually do much to dent rand appreciation.
Well, where is that money coming into our markets in your view? Are we seeing increased flows into the bond market at all?
I would imagine that is probably the most probable avenue. If we look at the equity market, that's been kind of setting off in keeping with this global kind of risk aversion and uncertainty. So I would imagine that it's coming through the bond market and possibly through some of the derivative instruments, the forwards, etc. as well.
Well, it seems the big focus today really is on those non-farm payroll numbers and the unemployment rate coming out of the United States. And by all accounts, it looks like the market has been lowering its expectations for those numbers. Do you think that this is the biggest risk to that dollar-rand movement or the dollar-euro movement this afternoon?
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Now, that's the big risk. The dollar is priced, in the ground at the moment. No one likes it. So we just need to get some glimmer of hope from this payroll figure to possibly bring about some broad-based dollar short covering. And of course, that would in turn almost certainly result in the rand stopping its gains. So the payrolls number is going to be a big one to watch. And as we said earlier, we still got to keep our eyes on what's happening in those European debt situation. We need to see whether or not Greece is going to get that second tranche of its bailout. You know, there's a lot of questions out there that still need to be answered. And, you know, the dollar, in terms of market positioning, is against the wall now. So we just need a bit of good news somewhere, and we could see the dollar enjoy some kind of a relief rally.